Ladies and gentlemen, the play's the thing. With your host, Judy Sleed. Special guests, Ann Seelbach and Christine Chu Smith. And now here's Judy.
Yeah, that's me, Judy. Thank you, Lee. I have two lovely ladies with me, Ann and Christine, who are both artists. How are you?
Very well. Thank you for inviting us.
I'm so glad you could come. We arranged this for quite a long time, and finally it came to be.
Yes, nice.
So we are both artists. You are painters, and
right.
Well, first, how long do you know each other?
Oh, a couple of years.
A couple of years, right, right.
And your art brought you together.
And the drawing group at Southampton College.
Yes, and then we both teach at the Art Barge.
And we both teach
the
at the Art Barge, right.
Oh, you're both teaching also. That's very good.
The drawing group is on Tuesdays at the Southampton Cultural Center. And a lot of artists out here go there and share the cost of a model. And we draw.
Is it in the evening or during the day?
During the day. Well, during the day is when we go from 10 until 2 on Tuesdays. And there is a nighttime session in the summer. I think it's 7 to 9.
I think so.
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
So. And you also teach the same place?
At the Art Barge, yes. I teach pastel and
I teach
teaches
watercolor. Right.
Oh.
It's out on the Napeague stretch.
And I guess it has a good following.
Yeah,
You've been doing it for quite a while.
Yeah,
quite a few years.
Yeah,
on
many years. It's the. It was started by Victor D'Amico, who was the director of education at the Museum of Modern Art. So it's been there since '53 or so. It's been there a long time.
A long time.
Right.
Yes.
Right. Yeah.
Well, and you paint on your own. And how long have you been painting?
Well, all my life.
All your life?
All my life. I did my first portrait of Dwight Eisenhower.
Really?
when he was giving his inaugural address in 1952. Wow. We had just gotten a television set, and I drew this portrait in pencil. And I was very young then.
Did he ever see it?
Oh, no. It was just, for me, it was exciting. I mean, it was exciting having a television set and drawing, and, you know, it was just...
everything, the television was quite new.
Very new, right.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, I remember that too. So, and did you show it to anyone, or you still have that painting, the drawing?
No. You know, people, the families moved many times, things get thrown, especially early things. No, I don't have that. I have.
But you were happy with that?
Well, at 8, I looked pretty good to me.
Yes. So did you go to art school after that? Or?
I had private lessons, and then did art in college, and then went to Hunter College for postgraduates, the MFA program there, and I've been painting all my life, really.
So you mentioned Hunter College. I happen to know it's in New York City.
Oh yes,
So
yes, right.
Everybody who's watching,
Right.
I just want them to know.
Right.
And so you were living in New York City?
That's where I've lived the longest.
Really?
And I
Which
moved.
part?
Oh well, in Manhattan there were 14 different places, and
It's more than where I live.
right. And then I guess the last time was in Brooklyn, and then I moved out of New York in '96. Long story, which don't need to go into all that. But anyway, so and I moved out here again in 2005. So this is sort of nice to be back here.
Yeah, a lot of people seem to come from the city to the Hamptons. It's a nice change of pace.
It certainly is. We gravitate out here.
Right.
The light and the landscape. And
Are you also from
offers.
New York? Chrissy?
No, I was born in Philadelphia, and then I grew up out west.
Out west.
Yeah, I was a lonely only child who had no playmates hardly, except at school, and so I'd look at the skies a lot. That influenced my painting skies.
So whereabouts, and what do you ride horses? And you
Yes,
were at
I
the
used
ranch?
to ride. I was fairly athletic, and then we moved to Santa Barbara when I was a teenager, and that was beautiful the way this is here. And it was a lovely kind of Bonnard atmosphere. I never heard of Bonnard till I came to New York, but and got more into the art world after college. But
Where
I
did you
loved
go
it.
to college?
University of Colorado.
Oh,
I wanted to ski, and I'd always been to girls' schools, and there were more boys there, and I was those were priorities at that point in my life, and I started majoring in art after growing up as a pianist, and so the music is very much a part of my life and work, and I don't play anymore. I wish I had time for it, but. Music means a lot. Classical music really means a lot to me, and so I go to concerts when I can, and it always comes out in my work later.
it's combined.
Yes, and I call a lot of my work, as you may have noticed, motet or gavotte or Sunset Symphony. That's a little ordinary, but something with terms for music.
I see, and both of your works are on display right now.
Yes.
Would you like to talk about that?
Okay, they're in Caneo's Books in Sag Harbor on Main Street, which is open every day, 10 to 6, run by two wonderful ladies, Catherine Soka and Marianne Calendrill. And they're really devoted to having good books, getting what you want if they don't have it, and showing art. And photography, actually, too, sometimes.
Right, they have a lot of functions going on there for authors. They read play readings, poetry readings, and all that. And it's such a small place, and yet they do so much.
So many things happen. It's a real cultural center.
Special little cultural center I've enjoyed
It is.
through the year, especially Saturday night author readings, and sometimes Fridays. And and our show will be there through July 2nd. Not too
So
long.
you brought
another
some
week,
some of your work here for us to see.
There are a few images that you have, I think so.
Yes, so we'd like to see some of them. And could you tell us about this one?
Let's see. Yes, that's it's called Early Morning Mist. It's from my view from where I live across Upper Sag Harbor to that point of land where John Steinbeck lived. I don't know what that's called. It's part of Sag Harbor, and it's before the sun rises, so you just see this mass of land and the
And
reflection
shadow.
in the water.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
Oh, that's very interesting, really. And this, you have it on exhibit right now.
Yes, this is all at the Caneo's bookstore. So
Was this one of your early works, or just?
this is all new. This was done in the last 2 months.
Wow.
Because usually I work large. And so, but Caneo's is a small space, so I created these paintings for that space.
For that
so,
space.
So in a way, I was thinking of them as...
Here's the next one.
Yes, that's littoral necklace. I was at Long Beach one day, and the sandbars created these little circles all through for the entire beach. So it looked like your pearls, actually. You know, little little tiny sandbars. It was you know, there's always something unusual going on at that edge where the water and the land and the sky all meet, and it's always changing. And I think of really the subject of my work is this interchange of light and energy. It's just always changing. And at the shoreline, it's very visible, hour to hour practically. Yes,
Yes.
that's another one. That's at what I think it's called Short Beach. It's in Sag Harbor also, and those are, I think, some weathered pilings and old rocks at the shore. So.
Okay, let's look at the next one.
What's, oh, right.
Oh,
That's
really...
Spring Breeze. This was in April, I think, and it was like time to go outdoors again. and the wind was swirling, and it's just, you know, those lines and brush patterns are all about the energy of the air currents or the sea currents, or even the, you know, the wind in the trees.
Yeah, I could see
It's
the
wonderful,
details.
the energy in the sky.
In the sky, yes, yes.
So,
And,
anyway, and this one, right, this was Conscious Point, which is on, I guess, Peconic Bay. It was a group of reeds. I call them sea oats, but people call them different things. And the way they were swirling around in the wind, and the water was swirling around beneath them, and the background trees were just, you know, moving, and it's always moving all the time.
Yes, it's very pretty. And one more, or two
okay.
more. I know you brought a few.
Let's see.
I didn't count them.
Yeah, well, that one
We
we
just
saw.
saw that.
Right. So
So
that's fog, or sandbars, I guess. It's from when you're out at sea and you look back toward the shore, and you see these, you know, bits of sand before you get to the trees in the back.
Looks like Napeague from when you would be out in the bay.
Very much influenced
Yes.
by Lazy Point and Napeague as well, because when you're at the barge and you're up on that deck and you look out at the water, you've got marshlands and wetlands and the tides and everything sort of like in this
It's
abstract
so
pattern.
magical.
Yeah, it's very, very.
it looks very, very real, like you want to jump in the water.
Yeah. Well, great.
Makes me want to go swimming. My favorite summer pastime.
So maybe this
There,
was,
that-
I guess
that's
this
good.
was all eight. So do you ever show it to, like the both of you have the exhibit at the same time, so do you ever critique each other's work?
No.
We haven't yet.
No.
No, never?
We each do our own work. I mean, we're inspired a lot by the same thing, but
yeah.
it's, you know, we have a different.
So you don't say, hey, what do you think of this? You never ask?
I may take her watercolor class seriously this summer because she's wonderful with what she does with watercolor.
Watercolor,
I
yeah.
love the gesture. My work is not static, but it's more painterly realism.
And you don't paint with watercolor?
Sometimes.
What
but
else?
much semi-realistically. I consider myself a painterly realist.
Oil?
I try to be. Sometimes, mostly acrylic or pastel is what I've really focused a lot on, because it's so quick to catch the color without worrying about mixing it. And it's easier to work on in the car, and I often go out in the car to do sunsets.
So
I
you
love
say that watercolor is more difficult to catch the color that you want?
Watercolor, no, it's actually you can get some really incredible color with just watercolor. These were not done in watercolor. These were done in acrylic on paper, and I prepare the surface of the paper with an acrylic matte medium, which keeps the paint up. Watercolor usually penetrates the paper, but I wanted to play with the paint a little bit more this time.
That's right.
So I put that the matte medium on, let it dry overnight, and then worked up. That's all I can say. It's like you know, on the surface. So the paint reacts in a different way than if it were watercolor going right into the paper.
Oh, so that's what you're teaching. You're teaching watercolor.
I teach watercolor, which is just pure watercolor, and there you want the paper to absorb the paint yes. So that's.
But you took classes in everything, all sorts of.
Yeah, so I studied art history for many years in college, and then at Hunter didn't have an MFA program when I was first there. So I went back because I'd been painting all along on my own, and then decided to do a degree. A lot of the reason was so I could teach, you know. That's, a lot of people require that.
So what, do you have any preferences? The way you like to work with what kind of paint?
Usually, when I work large, it's always oil paint. The color is pure, and I work on canvas, so it's oil on canvas. And the watercolors I do are usually no more than the 22 by 30 inch, which is a standard watercolor paper size. But if it goes bigger than that, then I go to oil and canvas, and sometimes quite large, like my size, 6 feet.
And you have chosen to teach watercolor. Is there a reason?
Well, because it's a summer program, and in the summer it's so nice to be outside, and you've got your colors and your paper, and you go, you know, you can put it all in a backpack and just wander around, and you see a lovely view or something, and then you sit in a comfortable place, and you have your, you know, jar of water, whatever. It's just it's such a wonderful summer activity. So it's,
it is.
Yeah.
I just thought maybe it had an artistic preference.
No, it was more just, I do that. I do it in Maine a lot. I've been going to Maine for many, many summers, and it's so, it's like part of being in Maine is like taking your pack out every day and, you know, see what happens, and maybe you found something great, and then maybe the painting even worked, you know. So. And
what do you prefer to work with, Christine?
I prefer to work with pastels because they're quicker, but they're an awful job to get them properly matted and framed and not have problems with mold in the mats in this climate often, and often I have to open them up and change frames or rework them, so I'm trying to work more in canvas again, which I used to. Because when I came to New York, I went to the Art Students League and for a while in the National Academy, and it was wonderful. Everybody painted in oils, including me, but then some of us got allergic to turpentine, and so I gave up oils for a while. Now I work when I can have ventilation with them and use other mediums than turpentine, but I find I get in a terrible mess. I'm sort of like a child with oils. I'm not smooth about it the way I was, but the end result is usually okay. It's just I prefer to work in acrylics or pastel. And sometimes small watercolors.
Do you spend a lot of time painting?
Not a lot. There's just so much to daily living when you get older. I wish I could spend more, and just there's always repairs and stuff I have to do or around the house. So, because I really have set it up so I have Bonnard views this way and that. Nice. And I will get the electric clippers and clip a bush so that it looks right, and for a Bonnardy view out the door.
Yes.
And I usually include my cats.
Sometimes you have to wash the dishes too.
Oh, endlessly.
Yes.
Endlessly.
But you've got cats too?
And yeah, two old cats that are quite demanding and eat as many times a day as I need to. But they end up in the painting some of the time.
And do you spend a lot of time with this? That's your main occupation?
Unless you're having an exhibit and you do a lot of paperwork.
Yes. Yeah, desk work.
Yeah.
You have a lot of exhibits.
Yes. Yes. I've been exhibiting, I guess since '72. Wow. And I've been on, you know, I've been very fortunate. I've been around the world on art residencies, and I've experienced a lot with it. It's taken me many places, and it's a wonderful, I feel grateful I can do this, you know.
Yes,
well, that must have been wonderful, the residencies.
Imagine it is rewarding when people recognize your work.
Yes, it is.
That's very rewarding. Yeah. And did you inherit this from somebody? Anybody else in your family?
My aunt, my mother's sister, was a painter, and in fact she worked in the early 50s, I think, in Italy on archaeological digs and would paint the things.
Really?
Did little watercolors of the fragments that they found. So, and she did that, I mean, that was just part of her artistic life, but yes, so there was that.
And you have seen it as a child.
Yes, yes.
So, but nobody else, like your mother or father?
No, but my mother danced. She was very involved with interpretive dancing, they called it at the time. And so I mean, but it wasn't directly visual art, but it was an art environment.
But there comes your gesture.
Yeah.
Very much so.
Yeah.
That's interesting. My mother was very graceful and danced well. Ballroom dancing.
So you come from an artistic family also?
I didn't pick it up too well.
But you said your mother was dancing?
She was a tennis player in the Riviera, and they had tea dansants, they called them, which means afternoon dances.
Yes, the tea dances.
I never went to one.
Yeah.
And we have them so seldom in this country.
Right.
So, and then she came over when she was pregnant with me, and so I'd be born in the U.S. and
Where did you come from?
In England.
England.
Well, she lived in the Riviera in the winters to play tennis. So it didn't pay well in those days. It was barely survival. But
she gave you music lessons.
She let me have piano lessons because I was frantic. I kept saying, please let me study the piano. And I still love to tinkle a piano when people aren't listening. The better those Yamahas in the cultural center below where we go life drawing, because it does just do something. So I started when I was 10 years old, and I was very serious about it. Loved to play Chopin.
You did? What? Where did you study?
Just with private music teachers, and then I had some art lessons in the summer, but I had no role model. That was lucky you had. My English grandmother, who I barely saw because of World War II, and she was in England, painted beautiful flowers in little cans. But she never got further than that, sadly. But I've always been sort of struggling for role models, so I look at, when I came out here, I was just delighted. I tried to meet one after another of the artists, particularly the women ones, and Jane Froelicher, who's now showing at Guildhall, was an inspiration, and many others.
And you also had many exhibits?
I've had many, many exhibits, probably 30-some solo shows, and a lot out here. I don't try much to show in New York, because frankly it's too tiring, and I'm to get around New York trying to find a gallery.
New York is very tiring.
It's really tiring, but I've had a number of shows. I started showing in a church there, actually, in about the time you did, in the 70s, when I had little kids, and the elderly German babysitter that we had a lot came along with my kids and a lot of friends, and it was wonderful fun. And then I graduated to galleries from there.
So how do you feel about living here in the Hamptons among so many artists? Do you feel you have a lot of competition?
Well, I don't think of it as competition. I think everyone is here for the same reason I'm here, which is that it's beautiful. And I first came here in '61, and it wasn't as crowded then. But it was that sense of going down the street, and the road ends, it becomes dirt, and then sand, and then the water. And there's just something wonderful about being at the water. So.
And did you meet other artists here that you're friends with?
I have this last few years. I've been here, yes, because when I first came, I was here visiting, and then anyway. But I moved back in 2005, and I've met many people here, and it's very nice. And really, whether you end up being a painter of the landscape or something else, you still have a sense of being in this open space. It's great.
It's very inspiring for artists.
You don't feel confined with having bays and water all over.
And there's a lot of way to express yourself and show, because there's a lot of culture. A lot of artists live here, and there's a lot of places for exhibit your plays, for
Yes.
painters and even actors. There's a lot of places where you could find ways to
There's
show
so
what you
much
know.
here. It's amazing. Even in the winter, when I remember many years ago, it was sort of quiet. It is not quiet. There are things
No
going
way.
on all the time.
Yes.
You put on your calendar everything you want to do, and every night of the week there's something, usually a conflict even, and you'd like to do this and you'd like to do that, and you have to make a choice.
You are so right. I
Yeah,
miss some things because you just
Right,
can't do
right.
so much.
You can't do them all.
People invite you. Everybody wants to show you what they have.
Right. Well, I mean, that's really wonderful. You know, there are other parts of the country where that doesn't happen.
No.
You know,
Right.
so we're lucky.
So again, I want to thank you for coming. This was a delightful time, and I'm sorry you couldn't show your work, but
Oh, I
perhaps
should
you could-
mention, I have a website, Christine
good.
Oh
Judy
yes,
Smith.
and you go ahead, mention that.
CHRISTINECHEWSMITH.com.
And right now your work is at Canio's
Canio's.
bookstore in
Yes.
Sag Harbor. That's here in the Hamptons.
Right. Right.
And I show out of my studio, as I'm sure.
Right.
And
Yeah.
those two.
Thank you, Judy. This has been really
Thank you.
wonderful.
Yes, well, it's been delightful, and like always, I know people, but I really get to know them better when they come on my show, and I ask them all these questions.
Yeah.
And then it shows that I really don't know you that well.
Well, we all get to know each other. That's great.
Yes, that's really good. So you could come back with your paintings at another show if you wish to have a half hour devoted only to you, or the both of you could come back with some new
Oh,
paintings.
that's very nice.
Yeah, with new work. That's great.
Yes.
That's very
Yes.
nice. Thank you.
Yes,
Yes, I'm working on a lot of things, but not jumping around on them because it's hard to finish something in
well,
a given
I had
spell
a
of
lot
a
of
month or something.
painters here who, some of them, it took them a long time to finish one. They didn't just work on one, some of them work on more than one. So look at this one and that one, and it's just amazing.
Right.
How everybody works differently, and everybody has a unique style.
Yes.
I haven't seen, with all the artists who were here, I haven't seen two that were similar.
I know. It's what's
just
we're all
amazing.
individual, and everyone has a different
Yeah.
expression.
It is.
Our
It all
background comes
from,
out in it.
from within.
Yeah.
And nobody else can do what you can do.
Right. Right. It's true.
It is just, it's really great.
I know